Right, so today we're going to be doing something that I really wanted to do for a long time, and I should probably do it in November, but, you know, I've got, no videos to make right now, so I thought, why not take all of the MCU movies. I'm a big Marvel fan, if you haven't noticed, by every other video I've made in the channel, and the numerous amounts of posters and action figures I have. But yeah, I'm going to take every Marvel movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is not including the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films, Into the Spider-Verse, any other Spider-Man film that's not got Tom Holland in it, not including any of the X-Men films, not including any of the Fantastic Four films, not including that fucking David Hasselhoff Nick Fury movie. This is only Marvel Cinematic Universe, from Iron Man 1 all the way to Spider-Man Far From Home. We're just going to start this off with my least favourite of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Thor 2. Thor the Dark World. I don't hate this film. I just don't remember a lot of it. It does make it is kind of important to the, outer, cinematic universe, but everything that happens in the film you don't need to know about. The whole, Thor's mum dying, Malekith, the whole, Malekith storyline, it's not that important to the grand scheme of things. The only thing is, it's got one stone in it. It's got one of the stones in it. And it's that's it. But you won't remember anything. You won't remember the main villain. The best thing about the movie is Loki, because he's the best thing about whatever movie he's in. And again, Chris Hemsworth, the stuff that works in the movie is the stuff that works in every Thor movie, and every movie that Chris Hemsworth is in, every movie that Tom Hiddleston is in. But the main problem with this movie is the side characters and the villain, and nothing really happens in it. It's just kind of filler for the sake of filler, and none of it's that entertaining. I guess there is an entertaining fight at the end, but there's an entertaining fight at the end of every Marvel movie, so that doesn't really give it bonus points. Up next, Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 is probably the biggest disappointment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At least with Thor 2, you weren't the sequel to possibly the most well-received Marvel or superhero movie of all time at that point. Thor wasn't Thor 2 wasn't as this has to be good as Iron Man 2 was. Iron Man 2 is not a bad film. It's not great in the grand scheme of things, but it's still a lot better than most DC films. It's still a lot better than half of the DC Cinematic Universe. But this film, for me, just has too much in it. You could have scrapped everything with Black Widow. You could have scrapped all of the, drunk Tony Stark stuff. Because it didn't mean anything for the movie. It didn't make anything. It didn't make it better. Just having the best part of this movie is Justin Hammer. 100%. The best part of this film is Justin Hammer. But all of the stuff with Whiplash, you didn't need him in the film. You could have replaced him with any other villain, and it would have been just as just as good as it was. I also can't get past how much Mickey Rourke in this movie just looks like Wagner from X Factor. I can't get past that. And that's kind of where that's kind of my biggest problem with this film. I can't take it seriously. It tries these really serious things. I just can't take it seriously. Up next, I think the one that people expected to be near the bottom of the list, The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk didn't do anything for me. I understand completely why they changed the actor. I understand completely why they changed the design of the Hulk. This Hulk doesn't work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It works on its own as its own standalone thing, but I feel like this movie was made to be a standalone thing, and it was shoved into the cinematic universe with Tony Stark showing up at the end. I don't think it was meant to be a cinematic universe movie. I think it was meant to stand on its own, and on its own it stands. It's just, it's not got the same like tone as the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not the Hulk that people would go on to fall in love with. It's this weird, like, gritty but, you know, awkward, funny, weird mishmash. And it's kind of a sequel to the 2003 movie, but not, because he gets his powers in a different way. But also the whole thing with him going to Mexico kind of is still integrated in it. It's just a weird kind of movie that kind of could have been a thing, but it wasn't, and it wasn't received that well. And also, like, the lead actor was kind of a bit of a douche about wanting more money and didn't really like where it was going or something like that. I don't know why they changed him. I do know why they changed him, because he wouldn't have worked. I like Abomination in the movie. I like Hulk. I like that fight at the end. But again, a decent fight at the end isn't going to save you when you're being ranked among movies with really good fights. Like, the fights are practically what you're going to rank these movies on. So, if your fight is decent, but not as good as the rest of these other films, that is practically a fight-driven cinematic universe. If you don't think it is, if you're watching these films just for a deep, intrinsical story, you're watching the wrong films. These films do have a good story to go along with them, but it's mainly about seeing good guys fight bad guys and seeing a good action spectacle. That's what Marvel movies are about. It's where you can sit down and eat popcorn and just watch a film for 2.5 hours, up to 3 hours. Up next, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is funny. I don't think it's good. I think it's funny and flawed. I think it's very flawed. Bill Foster could have been really good in this film, but they got him played by Martin Lawrence past his prime, so he just fell flat. I really like Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. I really like Paul Rudd. But I don't like anything else in the movie. I like the characters. I like everything that happens in the film. No, I really like the characters. I just don't like what they have the characters do. And everything about the film seems rushed. It seems like we need a sequel to Ant-Man, but we have nothing to work with. So we're going to have this random guy who's going to chase them around for the whole movie. And then we've got this woman, and she's kind of a villain, but kind of not. And she's going to turn at the end, but she's just kind of there. And there's going to be some action sequences, but they're not going to be cool. They're just going to be there because we have to throw it in that it's an action movie. It's not a comedy. No, it's an action movie. So here, have people punch each other for like 5 minutes and have some things grow and some things shrink, and it's a movie. And I think that's kind of where I stand on Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's just a movie. It exists. It's there, and it kind of just exists to like lead into Endgame and to kind of explain where Ant-Man was. doesn't explain where Hawkeye was, but that gets explained in Endgame, and oh boy, oh yeah. Up next, slightly controversial pick, because I feel like the next film is like the Marmite of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You either love it or you hate it. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I feel like putting it so low down is going to get me some, like, really mean comments in the comment section. You're probably going to say something like, oh, if you hate the film, why'd you buy a poster for the film? Because I don't hate the film. I love the film. I think the film is great. But it's being compared to all these other films that I love. And this one just kind of falls short. Because I feel like... How do I put this? Guardians of the Galaxy. Keyword is of the galaxy. They spend the whole film on one planet. This feels not like a feature-length film, even though it is a feature-length film. It feels like an extended episode of a TV series. It feels like an episode of, like, Star Trek or something. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a movie. They don't go anywhere that's kind of exciting with this film. It does have a very good end fight, but everything else in this film just kind of is there. It does have one of the best Stan Lee cameos though, and I'll give you that. But the rest of the film just it didn't do anything for me. And Baby Groot is awesome, yeah, but he's not like a focus of the film. He's not like there for the most of it. And a lot of the stuff that they do with Baby Groot is a bit mean-spirited. Like it's just like they're picking on a child for no reason other than, hey, it's funny. It's not. And a lot of the jokes kind of go on for a bit too long, and they start off being really funny, but then they're not. And like it has so many end credit scenes to the point where you're just like, just let there be a credits. Just let it roll. Stop freezing every 5 seconds to give us, ooh, here's a tease to something that's probably not going to happen, and here's a tease that you're going to have to wait 7 movies to find out what happens. You want this to happen in Avengers Endgame? You want this to happen in Infinity War? No, fuck you. You're going to have to wait for this to happen. Like, I understand what the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe is about. I understand that it's all build up for something, and when it pays off, you feel it pay off. But I feel like we've waited so long to see Adam Warlock show up that, like, when he does show up, you're just going to be like, well, who the fuck is this? I've forgotten what happened in Guardians 2. Oh, you're to do with the gold people. I fucking hated the gold people. You can fuck off. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I like the film, I enjoy the film, but it does have a lot of problems, and I feel like most of it is to do with the gold people. And just the fact that I'm calling them the gold people shows that they're not a good part of the film. So up next is another one that might end up with me in hot water, but it's Captain Marvel. I like everything about Captain Marvel apart from Captain Marvel. I just think you've got such a great premise. You've got so many cool characters. You've got Clark Gregg coming back in a feature film as Agent Coulson, one of my favourite characters in the whole cinematic universe, and you do nothing with it. He's gone for most of the film. Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson is so good in this film. It's one of his best performances, but I feel like a lot of the stuff in the movie is just meant to either annoy people or make people go, oh, I wonder what happened there. Oh, that's what happened. I wish you didn't do that. Because, like, the whole and this isn't a big thing for me, I don't have a big problem with this, but the whole Nick Fury losing his eye because a cat scratched it out, that just feels like something that they put in as an afterthought. I feel like that's a lot of what this movie is. It's an afterthought. It's more like, oh shit, we've got to introduce Captain Marvel. What are we going to do? Oh, we can just throw that out and people will eat it up because it's another movie with good action and humour, and it doesn't really work because your main character is quite boring and everything else that's going on is so interesting, and the most interesting parts of the movie you're just going to gloss over so you can spend most of it on Earth. Just like Thor the Dark World, just like Thor 1, and it's the exact same problems that we had with those films being repeated again. Only those films had Chris Hemsworth, and he was genuinely exciting to watch. Those films had an exciting protagonist along with meh side characters. This had really good side characters with a meh protagonist. That's kind of my whole 2 cents on Captain Marvel. Speaking of Thor, next one, Thor 1. Thor 1, I think, is a really good character-driven film. I really enjoyed Thor 1 the first time I watched it. I never go back and watch it because it just isn't the same as, like, all the Marvel movies you get now are just action through and through. There's barely any fighting in it. And he doesn't actually become Thor until the end of the film. And there's a admittedly very cool fight scene with the Destroyer. But that's kind of my biggest problem with this movie, my biggest, like the best thing about the movie is also the worst thing about the movie. It's the fact that you're spending so much time with Thor as a human. And that's kind of my biggest gripe with the film. It's that the most interesting thing about Thor is the mythology, is Asgard. And that's just kind of like, oh, we'll flatten that, we'll tuck that under a rug. Here, have Natalie Portman. Here, do you like Natalie Portman? We'll shove more Natalie Portman in your face. And do you like Two Broke Girls? We'll shove the girl from Two Broke Girls in your face. And that's the kind of stuff that was just annoying. So that's a really good protagonist, a really good main villain, but everything else just kind of falls flat. Up next, Avengers Age of Ultron. This movie's gotten a resurgence, it's got a new cult following, and I don't understand it. I loved the movie when it came out. I thought, this is better than the first one, this is so good, this is my new favourite film, I love it. I've seen it again like twice, and every time I like it less and less. Not to say that I don't like the film anymore, because if I didn't I would have put it lower. I still love the film, I still think Ultron is great, I still love what they did with him, but the 2 new characters introduced, or the 3 new characters introduced, aren't that interesting. Scarlet Witch gets more interesting in later films, but in this, she's just a kind of blank slate. Quicksilver, he don't really do any. He's kind of there, he's fast, he's dead, you know. There's not much character there. Hawkeye gets a lot of development in this movie, which I like. Arguably you should have put that in the first one, but hey ho, you actually did justice for Hawkeye in this, and then killed his character in the upcoming films. Not like literally, but you kind of made him a blank slate again. Vision is in this movie for like 5 minutes and doesn't work. I like Vision. I like Vision, but I feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't, because he's always kind of shit in the movies that he's in. Like, in Age of Ultron, he's like this Deus Ex Machina that beats the main villain at the end. And, like, yeah, cool. Is he a character? No, he's just kind of a plot device. Okay. And he's there to lift the hammer for a shocking moment. And, yeah. Not very much else happens. And, yeah, it's just kind of there again. Next. Black Panther. Black Panther is another one of those Marmite films. You're either going to really love it or you're going to really not like it. And I kind of like it. I don't love the film. I have problems with it. I have issues with it. My first biggest problem is the main villain, because there isn't one. There's kind of, oh, we're dealing with Claw. Oh, he's dead. We're dealing with Killmonger now. And oh, he's dead. The end. It's kind of like you have the best villain that Black Panther has in Claw, and you kill him off halfway through the movie. Why the fuck do you do that? And then you have Killmonger, who's kind of this blank slate, but you made him interesting just to kill him off. Why? And then you have Man-Ape, who could have been the villain in the second movie, and then you make him a good guy. Why? It makes no sense. Man-Ape is a lot of people's favourite character in this movie. I think it's wasted potential, because he could have been the villain in the second film. Or, first film, Claw. Second film, Killmonger. Third film, Man-Ape. There you go. There's your trilogy. You used all of the best Black Panther villains in his first movie, which means you either have to do the Ant-Man thing, where you have to pick and choose from other characters. So you're going to have Black Panther fight Blizzard? You're going to have Black Panther fight Blizzard? What? Like, I understand you want the movie to be a movie, but this just feels like the first and second squished into one. And that's my biggest problem. It's not the fact that the lead character is a bit bland. It's not the fact that, like, they don't really explore Wakanda that well. They just kind of have a few pan-over shots. They don't, like, explore and, like, build this world. They just kind of, like, here's where you live. Here's big city and a palace. And you're going to spend most of the movie in this one room that's kind of underground, and then you'll fight in the mine. The end. And the coolest scene isn't even in Wakanda. It's in Shanghai. Which, you know, oh well, I guess, you know, yeah. Up next, Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3, everyone hated it when it came out. I loved it, and now I still love it, just kind of a bit less, because I haven't seen it in a while, but I do like a lot of everything that happens in this film. I really like the end fight with all of the armors. I still am very confused as to why he blows up all his armors at the end, but, you know, the main villain is just kind of there. For a lot of the early Marvel movies, the main villain's just kind of there. But yeah, I really like all of the set pieces in this. I really like the scene where he's jumping out of the plane and he's trying to save all the passengers. He gets them all to hold hands. I feel like that's a perfect scene for Iron Man, even though it makes no sense scientifically. But then you're watching a film about a guy that shoots, where the main villain is a guy who shoots lasers from his mouth. Just deal with it. Like, I really like a lot of the things in this movie. I just feel like there are movies that do it better. And also, the Trevor Slattery twist is amazing, and anyone who is against me on that, Fuck you. I'm joking. I love you. Yeah. Next, Captain America the First Avenger. Captain America the First Avenger, I loved back when I first watched it. And I still do to this day. I really do. It doesn't hold up. The Red Skull's face kind of looks a bit weird. And, you know, there's not much development, and Captain America as a character never really develops through the movies, and he never really develops through this movie. He kind of goes from, he's a kid with a strong heart, and he can do this all day, to he's a big, bulky Jack dude who can do this all day. And in Avengers Endgame, where it's his final movie, it's the end of his character arc. His character arc goes from skinny dude who can do this all day to jacked dude with a magical hammer that can do this all day. There's no, like, build of his character. Like, you can say, yeah, he kind of grows as a character and gets more, like, he kind of gets more, like, questioning of, like, his orders, and he becomes less of a soldier and more of a leader as he goes through the movies. But I just feel like his arc isn't as strong as someone like Thor's, someone like Hulk's, someone like Hawkeye's, even Iron Man's. His arc isn't really that strong through this movie, through his entire cinematic universe. Even when he finds out that his best friend has come back from the dead, his character doesn't really change. He doesn't really go from, he still is this stoic, optimistic guy. He doesn't change from that. He doesn't grow, or he doesn't divert from that path. He's just on that path, and then, like, he put all of his he has a skill tree, and he put all of his skill points into charisma. That's it. So he's literally just a jack dude that's really charming, and that's his character. The end. Put a stamp on it, deliver it to the fucking Queen. But yeah, Captain America the First Avenger, I really like it. I don't think the action scenes have aged well. I don't even think that the CGI has aged that well. And yeah, the suits can be. And yeah, a lot of the scenes are campy. And yeah, Captain America as a character is kind of campy. But I love it. So, yeah. Up next, Ant-Man. Ant-Man is amazing. I love the first Ant-Man movie because I love Paul Rudd as Scott Lang. I love Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. The villain I can take or leave, but in a lot of these movies, the villain I can take or leave. I like the end fight because it's on a train, on a place set, and they don't destroy a city. I love that. But yeah, I love everything about this film, apart from maybe the villain, but I don't like the villain in most of the Marvel movies. So, there. Up next, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange really blew me away. It's Iron Man on acid, and it's so good. It works so well. My biggest gripe with this is, A, the villain. I don't think Caecilius is that interesting or that memorable. I think the only thing that, like, makes me remember him that well is all of the Mr. Doctor stuff. I think a lot of people say that the humour in Doctor Strange feels very, like, they writ the script and then they were like, oh shit, this is a Marvel movie. Put in jokes, put in all the jokes now. Do it. Like, I don't feel that way. I feel like all of the jokes land, and I'd say that this film is funnier than Guardians 2. And I feel like it hits more than Guardians 2 as well. Like, when Yondu dies, yeah, that scene's powerful, but also when the Ancient One dies, that scene fucked me up. Like, you can take Tony Stark, you can take fucking Captain America. That scene nearly broke me. Like, when I was watching it in the cinema. I love nearly everything about this movie, apart from it feels like it's missing a middle act. It feels like it's missing him learning everything. He just goes from, I can't do anything, I'm shit, to, I'm the best. I'm literally better than my teacher in like a click of a finger, and it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I like the end fight. I feel like maybe it uses Dormammu too early. Maybe they should have saved him, but you know he's coming back. You know he's coming back in a sequel, or he's coming back in the third one. But Multiverse of Madness is going to do fucking, I don't know, Nightmare? It's going to do Nightmare, apparently. And then got Mordo to deal with. So yeah, Doctor Strange has plenty of villains to dive into. Not like Black Panther, where you used all three of his villains, like in the first film. The fuck were you thinking? Up next, Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, has a strong place in my heart because it came out on my birthday. So it's one of the only Marvel movies that I saw opening day. And I loved it. And I have to say now, it doesn't hold up quite nearly as well, but the charm of this movie is in its characters. I love Drax, I love Star-Lord, I love Groot, I love Rocket. Gamora's kind of a blank slate. She never really gets any development throughout the movie. She's just kind of, I'm a strong independent woman, to, I'm a strong independent woman, but I've got a hard-on for Chris Pratt. So, like, that's all of her development, and then she's dead, and now she's got to go through the one movie worth of development again. She's just kind of got to see Chris Pratt, and then she's like, whoo! Like, that's all of her development. But I love everything else about this movie. I love the Guardians themselves. I love the fact that they explore the galaxy. There are more than one planet. Yes, most of the movie takes place in a prison. But they go see the Collector as well, and the end fight takes place on a completely different planet to the rest of the film. And it does have a really cool, like, space battle where, like, all the ships combine to create a shield. That, I remember when I first saw that, my jaw dropped, because I didn't know that was possible in movies, because I didn't see Avatar. But that was my favourite scene. I still think that is one of my favourite scenes in any Marvel movie. Fuck, any superhero movie. I just think that's such a really powerful, like, image, just seeing all these ships, like, combine together. Like, notice how all the best scenes in Marvel movies are just things coming together. Like, the ships coming together, everyone coming back through the portals, everyone, like, holding hands to save themselves in Iron Man 3. Those are all the best scenes, and it's all teamwork based, because that's the whole point of the cinematic universe, and that's kind of the whole point of, like, Marvel as a, like, fandom in general. Like, yeah. The biggest gripe I have is kind of Nebula. I don't really like her. I don't really like her in any of the movies. Even, like, her character arc from being, like, villain that just wants to kill her sister to she's kind of an anti-hero by the end, and she goes against her father. Like, she goes from only wanting to be accepted by her father to kind of wanting to kill him. But yeah, Ronan is very one note. Even in his second appearance in Captain Marvel, he's just there. He's just there because the movie needs a villain. and Ronan kind of has, like, name recognition, I guess. He's the most popular character in this movie at that time. He was, like, the one character that I knew. And then coming out of the movie, I was like, I love everything in this movie apart from Ronan. But, yeah. Up next, this is the one that's going to get me the most, like, anger, because it's the one that, like, everyone else puts at number one. It's the first Avengers. I'm not going to pretend that I don't love this film. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't the best thing, like, 10-year-old me had ever seen. But that's just it. That's 10-year-old me. That's a version of me that's completely fueled by emotion. And the emotion in my brain was, this thing that I love is finally in a movie, and it's the best thing ever. And there's still a part of that in me, and there's still a part of, like, the nostalgia value of Avengers, where it's like, yeah, this had never happened before. And now it's happened 4 times. And it doesn't feel as big as it once did. I don't want to undersell Avengers, because what it did was revolutionary. And it still is the only, like, movie of its type that's succeeded. It's the best, like, solo team like, first outing of a team movie, like, franchise. But going back, it is cheesy, it's campy. Loki isn't as good a villain as you all remember him. Everything has grown past Avengers to when you watch it again. It just doesn't have the same oomph. It's not as good as you remember it. I still love the film. I still respect the film. Like, I respect the balls out of this film. But I don't love it as much as I did. And I don't think it deserves to be up there with, like, the newer films that have come out that are genuinely better. And are genuinely doing more stuff that is arguably more revolutionary than what this film did. That being said, I still love the film, and I still respect the film. Again, another one that is revolutionary and really, like, kicked this whole, like, cinematic universe Marvel revolution a new one, and really, like, this was the film that started it all. Iron Man. Iron Man I'm not going to put at number one, because even when it came out, I didn't love it, but I respect the balls out of it, and I enjoy it every time it's on, and it hasn't, like, aged poorly for me. It's just kind of stayed in its place. I don't hate the film. I don't love the film either. I just kind of watch it and enjoy it. And I respect the balls out of Jon Favreau for, like, and, like, Kevin Feige, who are like, let's take this thing that we know doesn't sell well and shove it down people's throat and make it sell well. And it fucking worked. And I feel like Iron Man isn't an amazing film by any stretch of the imagination, but it is one of those things where you have to think, it's a point in history as a comic book fan, as a, like, Marvel fan. That's where things changed. That's where things started to like, go up. And now we have a whole cinematic universe, and now everyone in the world knows who Groot is. Now everyone in the world knows who Hawkeye is. Now everyone in the world knows who fucking Thanos is. Heck, Thanos is probably the most popular character in all of fiction right now. But yeah. And the film that started it all, I feel like it's a disservice to put it any lower. But it's also a disservice to put it any higher, because there's a lot of films that have come out that are better. Much like Captain America the Winter Soldier, a film that a lot of people put at the top. A film that I think is kind of overrated, because I didn't enjoy it that much when it first came out. Because I was very young when it first came out. And I didn't understand it. And I kind of fell asleep. And now I watch it and I'm like, yeah, I can get why people like this. But I don't think it's as good as Civil War. I don't think it's as good as some of the other movies that I haven't mentioned. I still love the film. I think it's very good as like a different, like slower paced, like political movie. But at the end of the day, I kind of only like the Winter Soldier. I like all of the action scenes, and I like the ending. I like Nick Fury in this film, and that's kind of it. I like the opening, and yeah, and Falcon's cool. It just introduces cool stuff that kind of gets forgotten later on. It's kind of like, this movie's important for Civil War, and never again. But a lot of people love it, and the people that love it will stand by it forever, and I'm just not in that camp. Up next, Spider-Man Homecoming. A lot of people are going to have a go at me for putting Spider-Man Homecoming above so many other movies. Heck, I put it above the first Iron Man. But yeah, I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I could watch 3 million movies with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like, leading it. I just love everything about, like, Spider-Man Homecoming. It's got a really good villain. This is the first Marvel villain that was like, yeah, we get you. Like, first off, it's Michael Keaton. Who the fuck doesn't like Michael Keaton? Next, he's acting his socks off. And he's got a relatable, like, backstory. Like, he was just fucked around by his superiors, fucked around by Tony Stark, and just kind of needs to pay the bills. And that he's the hero of his story, because he's doing everything he's doing for his family. But he's also a criminal and killing people and putting dangerous weapons on the streets, so he needs to be taken down. But you kind of do back him, and a lot of this film, and a lot of the thing that works about this film, is the villain and the hero. And the side characters are good as well. I don't really like what they've done with Flash Thompson, but yeah, the best things about the film are the most important things about the film: the hero and the villain. And they got both of them right, because they didn't have to do a backstory for Spider-Man, because you got that in Civil War. And speaking of Civil War, the next movie is Captain America Civil War. I love this film. I love the airport fight. I love the ending. I even love Zemo. But yeah, everything about this film works. I flip-flopped my side on who I was with. Eventually I came to the decision I'm backing Captain America, because they're superheroes. You can't, like, jurisdict where superheroes go, because that kind of defeats the whole point. And I really like that this diverged from the comic, because if it tried to do the comic and it tried to be as big as the comic, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have been a movie. But yeah, as it stands, it's almost perfection. Apart from maybe at the end where they do have this kind of like plot that goes nowhere about these other Winter Soldiers that were created. but then they're all dead when they get there. So that would have been a cool action sequence to have Iron Man, Captain America, and Bucky going up against these other Winter Soldiers. That would have arguably been a better climax than what we got. But what we got was these two friends fighting over the life of Captain America's best friend. And that is such a powerful scene. And it's, again, one of the best scenes in any movie, because it signifies, no, they're not going to get over this. The only thing that made them get over it was the end of the fucking world. Like, but yeah, I love Captain America Civil War. I still love it to this day. Up next, Spider-Man Far From Home. I prefer Spider-Man Far From Home to Homecoming. I prefer Spider-Man Far From Home from Spider-Man 2. I prefer it from even Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's my favourite Spider-Man movie, and I only watched it 2 days ago. It's amazing. It's so good, and it's because, again, the hero and the villain are both done perfectly. Yeah, I'm kind of sick of the whole Tony Stark, blah, blah, blah. He snubbed me at a party. He insulted me in front of my friend. I'm going to kill him. But now he's dead, so I'm going to kill whoever's next in line to be Iron Man. And the whole kind of like plot about Spider-Man being the next Iron Man, I don't really get that. But again, the stuff that this movie does well, it does really well. Mysterio was a character that I never thought would work in a movie, and they put him in a movie, and he's bloody brilliant. He's like the best part of the film, and arguably, I would say, one of the best villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the visuals that they do with all of the illusions that they have, bloody mind-blowing. It's some of the best, it's some of the best stuff that you'll see in a Marvel movie. Some of the best stuff that you'll see in a movie in general. And I love every single scene of this film. I think it's damn near perfect. And even before the twist of Mysterio, I really like Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal's chemistry. They work well together. And the whole movie is just, I dare say it, the perfect Spider-Man movie. And next, we have Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War is just perfect. It's just the perfect comic book movie. It's the most comic book movie I've ever seen. Hands down. I don't need to say any more. Thanos is perfect. All of the characters get a time to shine. The ending is one of the best and most shocking endings the past decade. Heck no, in movie history, I really got invested with this movie, and following the whole cinematic universe to this point, this movie hits so hard, and it hits so well, and everything just works. I have no complaints about Avengers Infinity War. The top four movies, I think are perfect. I'm just going to get that out there. I think the top four that I've selected are perfect films. I don't think they're the best films ever made, but in my opinion, they are perfect films. They're perfect comic book films. They're perfect, they're just perfection for the genre that they're in. Up next, Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame, for me personally, one of the best movies ever made. I honestly believe that. Every scene made me feel something. Every scene just I was with these characters from beginning to end, and the callbacks to the other movies, the callbacks to everything. They shoved everything that had happened in the past 23 movies, the past 23 movies, past 22 movies, into this one film, into these 3 hours, and it didn't feel rushed, and it didn't feel slow. The pacing was fantastic. That end fight is amazing. One of the best fights in all of, like, movie history. That's some Lord of the Rings fucking shit. And I loved every second of this film. Up next, and my favourite Marvel movie, it's got to be Thor Ragnarok. I know what you're going to say, but this isn't Endgame. This isn't Thanos. No. Thor Ragnarok is the movie that I will go back to most. Thor Ragnarok is the movie that I enjoy the most. It's the movie that I will watch the most, because it's got an hour shaved off of, like, Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame is amazing, but it takes, like, half of the day to watch. Thor Ragnarok is the funniest movie in the MCU. None of the jokes fall flat. It's got Jeff Goldblum in it. I think that's just a point in itself. Chris Hemsworth's Thor is perfect, and this is him at his best. Korg, amazing. Hulk is at his best in this film. This is the best Hulk you will get. Hulk in Endgame is close. I like what they did with Hulk in Endgame, but Hulk in this is perfect Hulk. This is best Hulk. Everything about this movie just works. I really like Scourge. I really like Hela, for as one note as she is. I do think she's a very entertaining villain, and she just revels in everything that she does. And I genuinely felt the threat, and the fact that they don't actually beat her by beating her in a fight. They have to sacrifice Asgard at the end. I think everything about this movie is perfect. Even the way it sets up Infinity War, perfect. This film is just perfection, in the form of a comic book movie. I don't think there's anything else I can say about it. I love the film. I genuinely love the film. But yeah, that's my ranking for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let me know in the comments below what you think of where I've placed these movies, where you would have placed these movies. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm right. I know this is just a list of my opinions. If your opinion's different, good on ya. If your opinion is the same, good on ya. You know, it doesn't matter. It's an entirely opinion-based medium. And that's what I do on this channel. I spout my opinion. If my opinion is different to yours, I don't care. It's fine that we have a different opinion. Differing opinions is what makes the world go round. If we didn't have differing opinions, then there wouldn't be conversation. And if we didn't have conversation, then we'd die out as a species, because no one would talk to each other, and we'd all be depressed and die. Like that. If you don't have a countering point to, like, why you like something more than someone else likes something, and if your opinion is different, then, you know, then that's kind of a bit boring, to be honest. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. It's fucking almost an hour. Oh my god. But yeah, I'm going to cut this video off before I record for longer than an hour. See you guys in the next one.